School Board Candidate Forum. Can everyone hear me in the back? Okay. My name is Heather Millette, and I am with Parents for Public Education. Before we begin, we just want to thank everyone involved in making this event possible. There was a lot to do in a short amount of time, and it wouldn't have happened without an enormous amount of teamwork. We just want to first thank Principal Anna Faratuska and Baldwin Park Elementary PTA for opening your school up to our community.
Thank you.
And to our moderator, Matthew Peddie, for volunteering his time and experience to this event. We will be giving Matthew a proper introduction in just a few minutes. Thank you to our Parents for Public Education team who have volunteered many hours alongside our partners. And we are also grateful to the Orange County Council of PTAs and PTSAs, as well as the League of Women Voters, for their collaboration and partnership. If you aren't familiar with all the great work that these organizations do within our community, please be sure to check out the handout that you received upon sign-in for links to their website and upcoming events, as well as other important information leading up to the August 28th elections. But most importantly, thank you to everyone here who either is joining us remotely or sitting right in front of me right now for taking the time from your schedules to engage in this process today. If you're not aware, OCPS serves over 200,000 children and employs approximately 13,000 teachers. Therefore, taking an active role and learning more about the people running for leadership positions within our district is so important. I have just a couple quick housekeeping items to address quickly. Bathrooms, pretty evident over here to the right. We did have some refreshments, so feel free to have some of those. I think I did see some people taking some refreshments. For those engaging via social media remotely via the live event, please share widely with friends and family. If you are live tweeting, please use the hashtag OCSB Forum. In advance of tonight's forum, we sent a 10-item questionnaire to each candidate requesting their response. These questions will not be included in today's forum and were compiled based on community input. Responses to these questions will be posted on our Parents for Public Education page via Facebook. So please follow our page so that you can get updates continuously when we post this information. We're probably going to post it over the next few days, so give us a little bit of time. If you did not get a chance to submit questions or topics of interest prior to tonight's forum, I think we handed out some index cards for you upon sign-in. So jot down any questions you may have. We'll have a basket at the sign-in tables, so as you exit, throw your questions in the basket, and then we will compile them and send them to candidates post-forum. I promise your homework is going to be less this time. We'll keep it to 3 to 5 questions. They had 10 questions, and they were good sports about it. So that's all I have for now. So I'm going to hand the mic over to rising 7th grader, Haven Burkett, who is a middle schooler at one of our schools in OCPS, who's going to introduce our moderator.
Tonight's moderator, Matthew Peddie, grew up in New Zealand, where he worked as a radio journalist before moving to Florida. Since 2013, Mr. Peddie has been the host of Intersection, WMFE's public affairs show, covering Central Florida politics, the environment, tourism, the arts and music scene, and more. You can join Mr. Peddie for Intersection at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on 90.7 FM. Please welcome Matthew Peddie.
Can everybody hear me on this? No.
Let's see. All right, sorry.
Monkey around with this a little bit, see if I can fix it.
You know what? Okay. Can you hear that? Okay. All right, I might just have to stand in this position so I get a stiff neck by the end of this, and that'll be why. Somebody in the audience told me I should crack some jokes, but the Kiwi sense of humour is quite dry, so you might have to hunt for it. I should also add something to the introduction that so graciously was provided here. Thank you for that, by the way. I was actually a teacher back in New Zealand. I taught high school for a couple of years, so I do have an appreciation for the job of teaching. It's a tough job, it's very rewarding, it's a critically important job, and equally the role of school board member is crucial and critical. So I want to thank all of the participants in this Orange County School Board Chair and District 6 Candidate Forum for joining us. I am also recording this panel. Everything going to plan, I will air some of it on Intersection this Friday, so you can tune in and listen back. Just a couple of housekeeping notes for our panelists tonight. The panel is being, you will be asked the same questions, and you'll have about a minute and a half to answer each question. We've got a timekeeper, I believe, Wendy. You want to just wave her hand there? She's got a 30-second mark flag to wave there, so if she waves that and you're talking, you see the exclamation point, then time's up. I will give you a little bit of time though, 30 seconds or so for expansion, and I will be asking a couple follow-up questions potentially, so you'll have about a minute to respond to those follow-up questions. So there's a bit of time for me to jump in and ask you to expand or clarify. So I know obviously some of the candidates here tonight are fairly well known, but some of them it may be your first time kind of getting to know them. So the purpose of this forum is to get to know these candidates a little bit and have them explain some of their positions on some of the key issues that we've been hearing about in the news and that are going to sort of drive this election. So that is the goal of the candidate forum tonight. So for the first part of this, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves, and you'll have just a minute or so to introduce yourself for this and explain why you are running. And we're going to start down the end of the table there with Matthew Fitzpatrick. Matthew, if you would like to answer that question.
1 minute or less?
You get a couple of minutes for this. Yes.
1.5.
Very good.
1.5.
1.5, yeah, 1.5 minutes.
And then you've got your same 30 seconds twice
30
as
seconds.
last time.
No, listen.
2 sets of 30 seconds.
Just 2
minutes.
If you want it.
No, the introduction was 2 minutes. 2 minutes? Who's going to start the clock?
Okay, 2 minutes. I'm sorry. You burned.
All right, so my name is Matt Fitzpatrick. I've been in education for 25 years, 12 as a teacher, 13 as an administrator. I was an assistant principal at Boone High School for 3 years, Popka High School for 3 years. I was the county athletic director for the whole county for 2 years, and now I've been in career technical education with Orange Technical College for 3 years. What I've seen in the last, at least the last 8 years, is a degrading of public education. And it's concerning to me, to such an extent that I'm willing to cut my pay in half, because this is a 50% pay cut if I win. But it's worth it to me, because the things that are happening right now in education have to change now, or we're going to see the effects in a few years, especially what we're doing to our teachers. The teachers is a big concern, but also the way we're scheduling our students. And I hope to share a little bit more with you on that. The thing with me, guys, is education is my passion. All right? This is what I live for. This is where I feel like I'm making a difference. My life motto is pursue your passion, not your pension. Okay? Because I don't want to be done with my career in 15, 20 years and then start living for something. I want to live for something now and put it all on the line. So this is what I'm all about. And this, I believe the experiences I've had can bring valuable insight to our school board. One of the things we need are people that understand what's happening on the front lines. Not just what's happening in the headlines, but on the front lines. We need people who understand what's happening. And I believe my career, I look at my experiences and I think, man, you know, I could just become a principal, but I want the system to change. And I know a lot of people want the system to change. That's what I'm about, that's what I'm running for, and I hope that I'll get your vote.
Thank you. I'm Teresa Jacobs, and
I've got to say before I start, first of all, thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for being here. What a great turnout, and what a refreshing surprise. And I also want to acknowledge that every single person sitting here is sitting here, I believe, for the same reasons, because I know most of you, most of these people want to make a difference in the lives of children, and that's also refreshing, because you see a lot of people run for office, and it's not about what they want to do, it's about what they want to be. I've had an opportunity to spend some time talking to Matthew, and I am so, this is not what I'm supposed to say, I'm so impressed by him. Okay, this is not helping me right now, I know that.
Stop the clock.
Yeah, that's off his 30 seconds. But seriously, what I'm excited about right now is that you are seeing really good candidates stepping up to the plate and saying, we want to run for this position. Too many people ask me this question. You've been mayor for 8 years. Why aren't you running for higher office? I got that question 3 times just out here. I am running for higher office. Okay? I am running for higher office. To me, the highest office is where I can make the most amount of positive impact. And you tell me where you can make more positive impact than in the lives of children. So I am running for higher office, and I'm doing it for the same reason you are. And I don't have near the experience in the classroom that Matthew has. He has something very special. I have something different than that. Together, I think we would be phenomenal. But what I have is the ability to convene people. I have the ability to raise the profile of public education in our community. Because until every time you walk into a meeting like this many people here are here caring, we will not make the change that we need to make at the state level to get the funding that we need to have in place to pay our teachers. And by the way, it's not just about pay. It's about, and this is one of the things I have done in Orange County government, it wasn't just paying our employees more, it was about respecting them and appreciating them. Until we honor the profession of teaching the way it was supposed to be, we're not going to make the difference we need to make.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jacobs. I don't think you get to take a running mate with you in this election. I don't think you get to take a running mate with this.
No, I know. I'm telling you, I can't rewrite this rule.
All right, so the next candidate is Robert Prater. Robert.
Good evening. Tonight we're all here because we have a vested interest in our child's education. Here's a phrase that throughout my years as an educator I have heard many times. A teacher's work environment is your child's learning environment. So think about that for a second. Think of all the hours your child will spend in that environment. So with that said, then what is the reality of that classroom? If we are not allowing our teachers the privilege to truly teach, then we are not giving our children the opportunity to be lifelong learners. What we are sadly doing is developing another generation of test takers and leaving an immense amount of potential behind. We must not only give our teachers the freedom they need to operate their classrooms, we must model the same flexibility for our students. Teachers are becoming increasingly discouraged due to the state of education. Some, like myself, are now attempting to make change from within the system. Educators all over our wonderful country are now running for political office. Teachers are accustomed to bringing people together and working towards a common goal. In the education world, we call it cooperative learning groups, a tool we use every working day. I have the privilege of working with OCPS already, among our best and our brightest. If you give me the opportunity to represent you and the students, I promise to bring cooperative learning tools to the school board district. Parents, teachers, and all who care about our future generation, elect Robert Prater, your next Orange County School Board Chair. I'm a candidate who has a degree in education, who has a background in business, who has graduated from a vocational training school. I want to thank the parents for education, the PTA, and the League of Women Voters for putting on this event tonight. I look forward to answering any of your questions and meeting you after the session. I know I didn't get a lot to speak about myself, but tonight's not about me. It's about the students, it's about the teachers, and it's about the parents. Thank you.
Nancy Robbinson.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Robbinson, and I know so many of you in the audience, and I wanted to thank Baldwin Park Elementary for opening their doors and thank the wonderful groups that put this together tonight. And I want to thank my opponents, because it takes a lot to be able to put yourself out there and be a candidate for office. It really does. And I appreciate so much that we are here. And I've been in this cafetorium many times to large crowds like this. So it is exciting that you're all here to learn so many wonderful things about all of us and talk about education. I've been representing District 6 on the school board for the past 10 years. That's why I know so many of you. And I have resigned my seat. So Mr. Fitzpatrick says he's going to take a pay cut if he gets elected. I've already given up my job. I resigned to run because I think that it's important for the new chairman of the school board, now that our chairman is retiring, to be someone who knows what's been happening for the last 10 years and has that experience and is ready to lead. Because after this election cycle, of our 8 school board members, 4 of them are going to be brand new, having never served before. They will be drinking education from a fire hose as fast as it can come. And I will be there to help them, because I've been drinking from that fire hose and I know what's happening and what's been happening. And I've been representing all of you, and I want to continue representing all of you on the school board as school board chair. And I just want to let you know a little history about me. I grew up in Orange County. I married 30 years. I want to do a shout out to my husband, Bill, who's back there tonight. I'm so proud that he was able to join us. And he also is an Orange County Public School graduate, both of us. We met at Edgewater High School. And we've raised all 3 of our children here. All 3 graduated from Edgewater. And we are just such public education advocates. I'm just as passionate today about the need for a high quality public education for every child as I was when I first started running for school board 10 years ago. So I am thankful you're here, and I look forward to answering all the questions too, and I hope to earn your vote for school board chair. Thank you.
Well, then a new word, cafetorium. So Karen Castor-Dentel.
Thank you for the groups who organized this tonight, and thank you all for coming out to spend your time learning about the candidates. I am Karen Castor-Dentel, and I want to share a little bit about my background because I think it's relevant to the job. I grew up in a family where education was the most important thing. It was more important than anything else. My father was a judge, and my mother was the Commissioner of Education for the state of Florida. So I lived and breathed public schools and public service, and that's why I became a teacher. In fact, I started my teaching career at Audubon Park Elementary, the old Audubon. I taught the original Audubon. I taught for 5 years and then decided to go back to school and get my PhD in curriculum and instruction so that I could be a better teacher. And I returned to the classroom at Domrick Elementary when my 2 kids, Wyatt and Caroline, went to school there. And that is when I really had an eye-opening to what's happening to our schools. I had been out for a little bit, but the testing culture had really taken hold, and now I could see it through my kids' experiences, and it really turned them off of school. So I did what most people do. I ran to be a legislator and to try to make a difference in Tallahassee. And when I was there as a representative, I fought to decrease the number of tests, increase funding for our schools, try to make a more fair evaluation for our teachers, and help to give our students a break. I have since returned to the classroom. And like every teacher that I know, it is frustrating, it is demoralizing, and it is, teachers are being micromanaged, they're packing their bags, and they're heading out the door, and they're not coming back. Sometimes schools in this area may not have felt the impact of that, but it is real, and it is coming if you haven't felt that yet. Parents' concerns are often dismissed, and too many students are acting out because they're under so much pressure.
We're out of time, I'm afraid, Karen Castor-Dentel, so.
I'm Karen Castor-Dentel, and I'll answer your questions later.
Okay, so the next candidate is Patricia Fox.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Patricia Fox, and I'm a retired OCPS teacher. I taught at Edgewater High School for 15 years. So I was not only a teacher, I was a coach, I was a mentor, I was a sponsor for Key Club. As a matter of fact, I have to give a shout out not to my husband, but to a past student of mine who on his vacation decided to come and give me his support, and I thank you for it. The reason I decided to come out of retirement is because of everything that I see that has been going on. Not only the testing, the over-testing of the students, the lack of services when it comes to counselors because they're too busy doing statistical work instead of counseling and placing the students where they need to be placed. Also, the testing is based on just a generalized testing. When I taught in the classroom, we built the curriculum, and we had to build the curriculum according to the needs of the students. That isn't happening today. I have a granddaughter who sat in her kindergarten class taking test after test and passing every single one. And it took until the end, almost the end of May, for her to be able to be tested and understand that, whoops, she's in the 3rd grade reading level. So we're losing children to testing like this. We're losing, parents are getting frustrated. And we're losing a lot of children to the streets and to low-paying jobs. And I'm here to say I want to not only work for the students, but also for the graduating students with the business community and build apprenticeship programs, because that is, not every child is going to end up going to college. And I'm here to ask for your support on August 28th. Patricia Fox. Thank you.
All right, and Charlene Robbinson.
Hi, I'm Charlene Norato, and I feel honored to be up here with all of you because unlike all of these folks, I'm a mom. I'm a parent, like most of you in here or some of you, and I was asked a couple of years ago to think about running this position. And I looked at them and said, "You're crazy. I'm a mom." And their response to me was that you already do this. You go to schools, you talk to people, you take care of children, you visit schools that your kids don't even go to help them start programs. And I said, oh my gosh, you're right, I do that. I've spoken to the Head Start program, helping them start programs to raise funds. I've helped get books. I've done all kinds of things. And what really, really makes me passionate is getting more creativity and more learning in our classrooms. Everyone here has mentioned testing is out of control. Our kids don't need that. When I was at Princeton Elementary, we were dissatisfied with some of the curriculum we had. We brought a program called Odyssey of the Mind in. That program was designed to enrich kids, to get them thinking outside of the box. And I am passionate about things like that. I have coached Odyssey of the Mind, I've coached Science Olympiad. I have learned so much. When I was a child, I remember reading a sign that said, the greatest aid in adult education is children. I never understood what that meant until I started coaching kids. And now I get it. I have learned so much in the past few years working with these children. And I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference to the teachers. I want to make a difference to the community. I want to make a difference to all of the children. And I want to make their lives better. And I know that we can. And I know that we can as parents. The other ways that I've been involved is through the PTA and the PTSA. Thank you. And I'll take a page from Karen. I'm Charlene Norato.
Introductions out of the way. I appreciate you all sharing your thoughts there. We're going to move to the next part of this and get into some of the nitty-gritty about some of the issues. So we've picked a couple of what we think are some of the important things that we're probably wanting to know about. And this part of it, you're going to get a minute and a half to ask the question, and then there'll be a follow-up question, and you'll get a minute to answer that. We mix up the order a little bit for answering this, and I think what I'll ask you to do is to be our runner for the mic. So start at one point, and then have you run the mic down, and the candidates pass it around. makes sense. All right, so the first question is, I want to talk about teacher retention. And I'm going to start this question right in the middle there. Start with Robert Prater. So I'll just run the mic down to Robert. So Robert, after you answer this question, if you could pass the mic to your right, down the end, and then we'll come back to this end. Right, and the question is, what has the school district done well to retain teachers and staff, and what needs to change?
I'm sorry, you don't want to start, you really don't want to be negative, but unfortunately, and you've seen it with all of the governors running, they've all come out and clearly stated that we're $10,000 behind the national average for teacher pay. I'm a nice guy, but we are the lowest paid profession with a 4-year degree, and then on top of it, to be $10,000 below the national average. I know sitting up here complaining about money is probably not going to win me votes, but the fact of the matter is, we need teachers in these classrooms. We need to pay them. We need to maintain their benefits, and this all takes money. We are hoping that you will pass the one bill that will be on the ballot August 28th. If not, we're going to be in bigger trouble. So we need your help, and as much as you need teachers in those classrooms. We are in a very competitive society where Seminole County, Lake County, Osceola County are fighting for those teachers coming out of UCF. For the most part, that's where the teaching pool is coming from. And there's only about 1,000 of them coming out of there per year. So we need to do a better job in recruiting and offering better packages for them, because they're coming out of there with student loans. Recruiting teachers is not a problem. It's keeping them. So the national average needs to improve.
And I do have a follow-up question before you pass the mic down, Robert. And this is a question that comes up a lot when you talk about teacher retention. Should test scores be linked to teacher evaluation?
This is right up my alley. Absolutely not. Today I called Tallahassee. Absolutely not. It's funny, when House Bill 735, I believe it was, or 736 was passed, one of the persons that wrote the bill, I called his office, and I played off like this was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I got to speak with the representative, and I told him, I really can get a lot of teachers to agree to this pay performance stuff. They really need to do their job. I go, but I have one stipulation. He said, what's that? I go, you get paid the same way. And then he hung up on me. So that just goes to show you how bad that bill was written and how it continues to target education. And we see it in many other areas. And we just saw it with the House Bill 7055, where now we have to have over 50% to maintain our union. None of the other unions had to have that. Only the teachers union. And that needs to stop too. So,
Robert, and we're out of time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Teresa Jacobs, same question. Teacher retention. What has the school district done well to retain teachers and staff, and what needs to change?
Well, I think Mr. Prater nailed it. That I cannot identify anything in the last 10 years that I can see that has been done well to retain teachers. And I would attribute that as more to what we've seen coming out of the state. And I want to thank you, Representative Castor-Dentel, for the effort that you've made. I don't know why we can't make more progress at the state level. That's where I think we need to galvanize this whole community, because we are going to have a crisis at some point. We are looking at the lowest unemployment rates that we've seen in a very long time. I know too many kids. They were kids with my kids. My kids went to Orange County Public Schools. All 4 of them graduated, got a great education. But too many of their friends that went into teaching did not make it more than 2 years. And it's the same story all over again. And it's not just the pay. The pay does need to be better, but it's more than pay. Because teachers that I know that teach, they are not doing it for the money, they are doing it for the passion. And I so respect that, but you shouldn't sacrifice your whole family's quality of living in order to do something that used to be revered. And that is a very, very high calling, and that's teaching. What is more important to our community than law enforcement? Well, I would say law enforcement, number one, in terms of keeping a society safe. Second is having an educated population. So we've got to put more respect and more appreciation to our teachers, and that's a cultural change that needs to happen from the top down and bottom up.
Okay, and the follow-up question, should test scores be linked to teacher evaluation?
You know, that sounded like such a simple idea. I think most people in the beginning would have said, absolutely, right? Teachers should be paid based on how well they teach. How well they teach is based on how well kids do. Wrong. Okay, first of all, we're not looking at where kids start. Secondly, kids, and this is, I think, the most important thing that the legislature needs to understand, we are not talking about mass production of a product. We're talking about product of public schools. These are not products. Children are not widgets. You can't build them all at the same pace using the same methodology. So you have to recognize that that teacher has to be able to figure out what does it take. The most important thing that you need to get with children is motivation. When a child is motivated, they will learn. And the teacher's got to unlock and figure that out. And then they can start the process of teaching. But pay for performance is not working. In fact, it's backfiring. Too many of the strategies that have been used in the last 10 years have totally backfired.
Thank you, Mayor Jacobs. All right, Matthew Fitzpatrick, was the school district done well to retain teachers and staff, and what do you think needs to change?
Excellent question. What we've done well, if you look at the teachers that are staying, those are the ones that are trapped mid-year in their career. They can't quit and go to something else. They might as well hang on for their pension. Okay? Those are the ones that are staying. The ones that are at the end, they're going into early retirement as soon as they can. Okay? The ones at the beginning, you get into it, it's like, all right, I can find something else. What really tells you we have a problem, this is what I saw as an assistant principal. When a principal tells me, he told his own kids, you can go into anything you want except for education. Now, when someone has given their life to education, then turns and says, listen, don't go into education, it's a mess. That tells me that we have some big problems to address. And if you look at the college, the schools of education at the colleges and universities, they're down 50% of students going into education. So not only are the baby boomers retiring, but we don't have people coming in. The only ones that are staying, which we're retaining, are the ones that have to stay. So we need to change something in terms of how we evaluate our teachers, which is demoralizing, it's micromanaging, it's nitpicking. We have to change the way we evaluate it. We also have to change letting a teacher teach. They came into this profession for passion. Let them express that.
Thank you. And the follow-up question is, should test scores be linked to teacher evaluation?
Absolutely not. I'll tell you why. What happens when you do that to teachers, and I know too much about the evaluation system, I'll admit that. I've written about it. 100 reasons why we should get rid of it. What happens is teachers, one, they feel as if you're coming after their pay. They feel, and especially if you tell administrators not to give them high scores. If you're basing your promotions on administrators giving lower scores, all right? I know this because I was pressured to give lower scores as an administrator. Okay? You can't do that to your administrators. And if you do that to your teachers, and your teachers are like, why am I getting this low score? They begin to wonder, what is going on here? This is flipped upside down. I saw this down at the ELC when the teachers spoke. The board was like, where's this coming from? Never heard this. These guys are so upset. So we have to look at that evaluation. One of them is to not attach pay to it, because they didn't come in and feel paid.
Thank you, Matthew. All right, yeah, if you could pass the microphone now to Charlene at the end.
Oh, Miss.
Yes.
I'll take their minutes.
Okay. All right, so same question, teacher retention. What has the school district done well to retain teachers and staff, and what needs to change?
Well, I think it's been pretty clear that we don't think they've done much to retain the teachers. I feel like when I talk to teachers that what they want is autonomy in their classroom. They want to be able to be creative, and they want to be able to teach what their subject is. And they're being told to do this and do that. They have 64 things they have to do in their classroom. Then when they're reviewed on just a couple. I worked in my professional career was in human resources, and I maintained and processed evaluations for years. This is not how you do that. I won't answer the follow-up. You need to keep someone happy in their position. You need to take advantage of their strengths. And our teachers are creative, and they want to teach, and they want to be here and do that, and we have not done anything to keep them. We have not paid them appropriately. We have not rewarded them appropriately. We need to do something, and we clearly are not doing that right now. So in my opinion, no, we have not done anything to retain our teachers. We need to do more to bring them and to keep them happy and to help them be the best that they can be, which in turn makes our kids' experience and our kids' education the best that it can be. If we don't value our teachers, why should our kids value it? Thank you.
So, do you want to answer the second question?
Yes, I'll answer the second question.
So
No, I don't think that teachers' evaluation should be tied to the test results. That's ridiculous. They get kids in their class that are from all different levels. They get kids with behavioral issues. They get kids from homes that we couldn't even imagine. At the school that my kids are at, we have kids that are homeless who come and go and are in class for a couple of weeks. How do you evaluate a teacher on a class that fluctuates like that? Their test scores can't possibly be tied to their evaluation. I just don't think it's the right way to do it. It is clearly not working. So no, it should not.
All right, thank you. So if you want to pass the mic to your right there, and Patricia. So, Patricia, teacher retention, what has the school district done well to retain teachers and staff, and what needs to change?
Well, I'm an early retiree, so I'm a prime example of what was not done well for me. It was very difficult to teach when all of a sudden what you were teaching was not the subject matter that you were supposed to be teaching. When all of a sudden what you were being evaluated on was, are you walking north, south, east, or west? It didn't matter the lesson plan that I prepared in order to teach, because I knew how my students needed to learn, and I did a lot of hands-on teaching. When all of a sudden what became very important was, where was the date on the board of my classroom? Because if I didn't put it on a particular place, the children were going to be so confused that they were not going to be able to learn. I know, ridiculous, but that is how we were evaluated. And then on top of that, when Marzano came on, the administrators were told that they cannot have outstanding teachers. So it didn't matter if I was the new Einstein, I was not going to get the grade that I needed to get for myself. So I'm a prime example of what OCPS has done well to retain good teachers.
All right, and the follow-up question, test score, should there be a limit to teacher evaluation?
I like to equate that to, does your dentist let you pay only if you don't get a cavity or do not get anything back in your teeth? No, absolutely not. So why is our profession the only profession because that is being graded in this manner? It's because there is no respect for the teachers. And we need to respect the teachers in order for the teachers to be able to teach according to the needs of the students. The district doesn't know the needs of our students. The principal doesn't know the needs of our students. The teacher knows the needs of our students and how we can reach, how we can teach, and how we can mentor. Thank you.
All right, Castor-Dentel. What has the school district done well to retain teachers and staff? What needs to change?
Thank you. Well, a lot of the problems I've heard so far up here stem from Tallahassee. I got to spend a couple of years up there and see where the disrespect starts. So when we talk about what has Orange County done to retain teachers, a lot of the problems start with Tallahassee and the funding that they give Orange County Public Schools to pay their teachers. I fought for more funding, and they just kept shifting it to vouchers and charter schools. There is a lot of disrespect for teachers across the board, throughout the state, even across the country, I might say. But we feel it here in Orange County, and I can tell the difference between what are the county level issues and what are the state level issues. And the county seems like they micromanage. They, instead of a dialogue with teachers, they are a top-down management with a heavy hand kind of operation. So as a school board member, I would hope to involve more teachers and more parents in those decisions. Once teachers feel like they're heard, you will see a change in whether they feel valued, if they feel like they're making a difference. I mean, I didn't become a teacher to become rich. You know, I knew that going in. But I also expected to be effective. And some of the things that are going on right now with Orange County Public Schools prevent that. So my time is up.
It is indeed. I just want to ask a clarification question before I ask you that follow-up. And that question is, when you say the county is heavy-handed, do you mean the school district?
I'm sorry, the school district and Orange County Public Schools and how they, the operation system, and from the leadership to the assistant superintendents to the principals to the teachers to the kids.
Right. Okay, so the follow-up question is, should test scores be linked to teacher evaluation?
No, that's crazy, not just because it's a bad method, but we don't even know if the test scores are valid. So, let's start there. When I was in Tallahassee on the legislature, I was on the K-12 committee, and the Department of Education came forward, and they were so proud that they had come up with this system to tie test scores to teachers. And they didn't realize, I guess, that they had a new teacher on the board or on the committee. And I raised my hand and I said, but what happens when you give a teacher an evaluation based on kids she didn't teach? Like my evaluation before I got there. I taught second grade, those kids aren't tested, so I got an evaluation based on other kids in the school. That makes no sense, and they didn't know what to say. All they said was, we need to go back and tweak it. That's true, there are some problems in the system. They have not fixed the system, and they don't want to fix the system. So Orange County Public Schools has to work within what the state forces us, but I believe as a board member, we need to push back and protect our teachers.
Well, protect teachers and staff, what do you think needs to change?
Well, I'll throw out the elephant in the room. I'm the only school board member that's currently serving sitting up here. And I realize that, and I think it's very interesting that I'm sitting in the middle. And I want you also to know there's been 4 candidate forums, and I've attended all 4 of them. I'm not afraid to answer the tough questions. That's why I'm here. And that's what I always do. I answer your emails and your phone calls, and I fight for everybody, including the teachers. That's why I have the endorsement of the Classroom Teachers Association over my 2 educators sitting on the stage with me. So, with all that being said, it is a large problem. Teacher retention is a large problem. It's a national problem. It's just not an Orange County Public School problem. And the problem with it is it's a complex problem. The education is being beat up left and right from everywhere, from every angle. And we are fighting as hard and as fast and as furiously as we can. We have been able to pay our teacher raises during this economy, this horrible downturn in the economy, which hit us in 2009. The recession's been incredible. Because we had the forethought, in fact, I asked my board to go with me on a $1 million special referendum to go out to the voters to help us with because we weren't getting funding from Tallahassee, we went out and got the voters to approve a $1 million referendum special bill so that we would have dollars in our operating budget during this downturn of the economy. And that has sustained us during this time. We are right now in a settlement agreement with our teachers. It's out for teachers to vote for a 4% raise. I guarantee you no other district in the state of Florida is giving their teachers a 4% raise. And that is hopefully being ratified right now with the teachers. We work really hard. We do our part. I go and I listen to teachers at teacher summits. I sit there and listen, and that's why I got the endorsement, because I am working hard and I've been doing this, and it is a problem. And
we are out of
yes,
time.
We're out of time.
But I am going to give you the chance to answer the follow-up, which is, should test scores be linked to teacher evaluation?
Test scores should not be linked to a teacher pay, and that is because of SD 736. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. So much of what we do on the school board, and that's the thing a lot of people don't realize, so much of what we do comes to us from Tallahassee, comes down to us. The 8 school board members make the policies that the superintendent is in charge of implementing. She is in charge of operations. She's the one who comes, you talk about micromanaging. She's the one that's micromanaging. I have conversations with her all the time about the issues and concerns of my teachers and my family. There's going to be 4 new board members out of the 8 school board members in the fall. I'm excited about that change. That's really exciting. But I'm ready to be that leader at the top so that I can continue with the work I've been working on, and we do not need to be linking test scores to teacher pay. We're not going to do that.
Thank you. Matthew, I see you raising your hand there.
I was wondering if I could use one of my, what is it, 30 seconds, minute and a half, whatever it is.
Are you going to use something from your next set of questions?
I want to take,
You got a 30-second to
rebuttal.
Yeah.
First, I want to, because she mentioned that she got the CTA endorsement. I want to say that the CTA reps that I've worked with at all schools all endorsed me, okay? Now, my CTA rep told me this year, she said, "You're bad for the union." I said, "Why am I bad for the union?" She said, "Because teachers know that you're different. They know that they're supported. And when you're there, they don't need to join." I said, "You mean I could be for teachers, but against the CTA?" And I couldn't believe that that was a concept at play. Think about that. Teachers don't feel like they need to be represented because I would be there. That's a political problem.
All right,
and if you want that endorsement, you can have it, but I guarantee you, I have the teachers.
Matthew, that is your 30 seconds. Does anybody else want to take a 30-second opportunity to rebut? Anybody? No. Okay. Well, we're going to move on to the next question, and if you could just pass the mic to Nancy. Actually, Nancy, I'm going to give you the first go at this question. School safety. This is obviously something which has been at the forefront of the conversation, not just here in Florida, but across the country for a long time, but most especially this year, since the tragedy at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in South Florida. So the question I would like to ask you is, if elected to school board chair, what will you do to promote school safety?
Well, the beauty in Orange County is we've already been doing a lot to promote school safety. We started right after Sandy Hook back in 2013. The school board asked the superintendent to please bring in an outside security threats assessment firm, and they came in and they analyzed and assessed all 200 of our facilities, and they gave us a long list of things that we need to do better. And we have slowly been able to implement that, and that's because we have the half-cent sales tax that the voters have approved for us that go directly to building our facilities. And we've been able to implement the things that they suggested, which are on our new facilities since that time. We have a single point of entry. We have a video intercom system. We have increased campus security with fencing and video surveillance. We got our own police department of about 15 police officers that work as liaisons with the different 9 different municipalities within Orange County that serve our schools with our school resource officers. So we are already doing a lot here. Doesn't mean there's not more to be done. There's always more to be done. And we asked that same group that gave us the assessment back then to come back, and they did that this summer. And in fact, it's humorous. I'm missing an executive session tonight of my board to be here with you. and they're getting an update on what that's going to happen. So I'm going to get a private update later. But what we also did in response to Parkland, the legislator actually did give us some money. They gave us, in part of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, they gave us specifically dollars for mental health services. We get $4.7 million that comes right here to Orange County Public Schools. That's going to enable us to hire 51 mental health professionals and implement new programs. So we are doing things, and there's always more to be done, but we're working hard.
I want to give you an opportunity then to expand on that. So a minute to kind of continue your thought there, Nancy.
Mental health services?
Well, you say there's more to be done. What are some more other things that you think could be done, and how would you help implement those as school board chair?
Well, the mental health services piece, obviously, we all know that is something that we need on our campuses, and we're so thankful that we are getting those dollars specifically in a categorical funding, which they say they're not going to take away from us. We don't know if that exists, really. We don't trust them. Karen's saying don't trust them. But so we're excited about that. We've been working on social emotional health of our students, and we want to continue on that because, like we said, this is all about the children. It's all about the whole child, too. It's not just about academics. The child has to learn from every angle. They have to learn through the arts. They have to learn through their character building, through their social emotional well-being, and all of that's going to be implemented through this mental health counseling session. So, professionals that we're able to put in. So, I'm open to meeting with the community and finding out what else they would like to see, and we'll talk about it. Obviously, funds are something that we don't have flowing. We're so thankful we got the funds specifically for mental health counseling, but in fact, we don't know if more's coming or if that's going to stay long.
Thank you, Nancy. If you could pass the microphone to your left, and Karen Castor-Dentel, I'm going to ask you the same question. If elected, what will you do to promote school safety?
First of all, I have to acknowledge that OCPS is ahead of the game when you compare other counties in the state. Because we have that additional funding for our schools, we have been able to keep up with rebuilding and renovating schools so that they have all those features that Nancy mentioned. And I know in Hillsborough, they're not nearly as fortunate as we are, but there are a lot of things we can continue to do. In the classroom, as a teacher, I was always thinking, I've had those lockdown drills where I have to force 24 fourth graders into a little bathroom and turn the lights off and be very quiet for however long, and that is a very stressful kind of drill to do, and then try to pretend like, oh, nothing's going to happen. So I would like to see more emergency preparation protocols for employees when the kids are not around. We do a lot of times some drills when we're in the classroom, but what happens if we're in the cafeteria? I can tell you that the teachers and the school employees don't have a plan. So each school is unique, but I think we need to have those practice runs or some brainstorming at each school site. And then something that we need to really talk about is not just how do we fortify our buildings and have all these features, because we've seen that those don't always stop these people with these military assault weapons. And I think we need to work together and support a ban on military style weapons.
Okay. Let me ask you this then, Karen Castor-Dentel, let me ask you this. How would the school board play a role in that? That seems to be veering outside of the realms of what the school board can do, what you could do as a school board member. So how would you square that?
I have two legs. I can go to a meeting and I can advocate. I have a voice and I can say that this is important to me as a parent, as a teacher. I want to protect my kids. And this is, if you really want to keep our kids safe, then I have an obligation to tell you what the best way to do that is.
But is it something within kind of school board policy that you can do?
It would not be a policy. It would be more of an activity.
being engaged with all the groups that are out there. There's a coalition to stop gun violence out there. There are lots of ways to get involved and speak up, and so we're not pretending that this isn't a gun issue.
All right, thank you. Okay, Patricia Fox. So, if elected to school board, what will you do to promote school safety?
Well, I'd like to first thank OCPS because of all the, and mostly the taxpayers for being able to have the funding for the new buildings. Edgewater High School was an open campus, and it left us wide open, and we did have a very difficult time when one day we had the SWAT team come in and we were on a complete lockdown for 4 hours. That was a scary moment because we had to keep the children from freaking out, so to speak. And, you know, that was our job. However, in case of something happening, we were supposed to run out of our buildings, down, and be in the wide open. Now we're all closed in, one point of entry. However, the one thing that we do need a lot more of, and I'm thankful that the legislature has given us somewhat some money for mental health, but mental health has to be more of a wraparound service for our students. What I mean by that is our students, when they're in school, if they have a problem, the very first line of defense is the counselors. The counselors know what's going on, serve as a support system for the students while they're on campus, and are able to get any extra help that is needed for not only the student, but the families themselves. So that's what I mean by wraparound service.
So, as a follow-up to that, how would you work as a school board member with other services in the community? Do you see that as part of the role of a school board member to try and bring those other services in?
Yes, I do. Because in order for the students to be able to learn, they have to be in the right mind to do so. When we bring out the services, it's not just about funding, like finding monies, but we have to allow the counselors to counsel the students. Do away with not having the counselors become a statistic taker of the different tests that they're doing. And most of all, we need to connect with the different universities. We need to connect with the different mental health facilities and agencies that exist out in the community and build a bridge, build a liaison with them in order for us to be able to provide the services needed.
Thank you. All right, Charlene Robertson Norato. So, if elected, what will you do to promote school safety?
Well, first of all, I want to say that as a parent, I was very happy to see our schools employ these measures that they have. The single point entry, the fences, the gates. It's great. I'm from Miami-Dade County, and some of the schools down there actually look like prisons. So I'm pleased that ours have a better feel to them. I will say, however, that most of our schools need to be revamped. Edgewater is a great example. When I go to get buzzed in at Edgewater, there is a buzzer, and you buzz it, and then you're in a hallway that is wide open to the rest of the school. The office is behind another locked door. So in my opinion, although that is somewhat safer, because you do have to get buzzed in, it's not really that safe, because it's wide open. There are schools that have portables that are feet from a busy highway where anyone going by could shoot at that. There are places that are just not as safe as they could be. So I think that we would need to go school by school and identify our areas where we have weaknesses. I also feel that mental health is a huge factor. We need to have counselors who are actually dedicated counselors, not scheduling people. When my daughter had a problem at school and she had to go see a counselor, she pretty much had the door slammed in her face because they were busy making schedule changes. She was crying in the hallway and not getting help. That's unacceptable. She clearly had an issue. There are other kids in our school with the same types of issues, and the counselors are busy doing scheduling. They're wonderful people, and we should utilize them for what they're there for, not to be scheduling.
So let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Is that a question of money? Is it a question of reallocating resources? How would you deal with that?
I think that is a question of money. I think instead of having mental health counselors who are dedicated to that issue, I think they're using them in multitasking. And that's great, and it sounds wonderful, and let's be on budget, and I think that's wonderful, but this is an area where we cannot afford to skimp. If there are kids out there who are in need of help, we need to get them that help, and we need to identify them. So yes, I think it is a budgetary issue, and I think that that's something that we should all look at.
All right, thank you, Charlene, Robbinson, Barclay. If you could pass the microphone down to Robert Prater, and we're going to start with him and then move out to the end of the table there. Yeah, you can start with you, Robert.
Me?
Yeah. So, Robert, if elected, what will you do to promote school safety?
Well, I really didn't get into my resume. One of the, I was a classroom teacher, and now I'm a dean. So I do conduct the emergency drills every month, and we do various ones. And when we do them, we, I really make them act like they're, they're real. So so when the kids hear me do that, they react, because we want them. If it's a fire drill, we want them out of the building as quickly as possible. If we need them to lock down, I don't do that. We say it very calmly. It depends on the situation. But obviously the Parkland thing is tragic. Another one happened in Texas. As you can see, I'm trying to avoid saying shootings, because when you say that, people die. And what's really sad is we're forgetting. We can go back to Columbine, 1990s. This has been going on far, far too long. Now, we are fortunate here in Orange County that we have this half-cent sales tax. Well, we need to look at our perimeters, make sure our fencing is proper. It's more than guns. We got to make sure people aren't getting on our properties. We got to make sure that we have speed bumps, that people aren't driving like crazy people on our properties. And I see parents shaking their heads like, yeah, I see it all. I see it every day. We got to have barriers on our sidewalks. I had 12 cars drive up on the sidewalk this year because they just don't know how to drive. And there's many other things. So we can.
Yeah, I want to ask a follow-up then, just elaborate a little on that. I mean, the things you're talking about are all expensive. How will you pay for them? What would you be able to do as school board chair to try and put some more funding into that?
Well, when was it? It was, we went to, and I see Sarah Oz in the audience too. She was at that event at Legacy. And it was brought out by the chief of police for OCPS. What's really expensive is trying to get bulletproof doors. What is it, about $6,000 a door? That's expensive. So what we have to do is we have to figure out what we have for funding and how to utilize it to make every school safe. We're going to have over 200 schools here soon. So when I'm the school board chair, my proposal is I want to develop a call center. My first job was at FedEx. And FedEx had designed one of the greatest call centers you can imagine with booths. We have cameras. We've already paid for surveillance cameras in all of these new schools. We need to make sure we have enough people watching the hallways, the courtyards, the cars coming in. So things are being reported because eyes in the skies are watching it. Those would be cheaper methods and more productive methods to keep our students safe. Because at the end of the day, my biggest fear is someone showing up at my school with a gun. And I'm gonna be the first one at the door.
Right. And your time is up, I'm afraid, Robert. But thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay, so Mayor Jacobs, if you could take the mic and answer. If elected to school board chair, what will you do to promote school safety?
Thank you. Let me start by what I've already done. Probably most people don't realize that the role of Orange County Mayor isn't just the chairman of the board. The mayor is the CEO of the organization, but the mayor is also the official emergency management director for all of Orange County. So to put in perspective, I came in January of 2011. December of 2012, we had the Sandy Hook shootings. And some argued at the time that I was out of my lane, but what I immediately did was I called the superintendent and asked her if she would be receptive to us putting a deputy in every single elementary school. I then called the sheriff and asked him if he would cooperate and I would fund it. So my plan was immediately, and I mean this is within 24 hours of the school shooting, to have a deputy in every single elementary school when those children returned from the Christmas holiday, so that they could feel safe and so that the school district would have time to evaluate safety measures and address this. Today, we sit here with the governor and the legislature saying we need to have a deputy in every elementary school. I tried that after Sandy Hook. We did that for a short period of time, and then it dropped back. We need to have a deputy in every elementary school, not a teacher. Teachers should not be worrying about carrying guns, and children should not be worried about teachers. And we should not make our schools look like prisons, and there should not be metal detectors. We are way more advanced than that. The second half of this is, as we studied what took place at Sandy Hook, what we learned was, and in almost every one of these cases, I'm really out of town. Okay, really? I gotta have my 30 seconds. Do you have a follow-up question? Because I'm not.
I do have a follow-up question. So, you're talking about deputies, like more deputies. That is an expensive proposition. So
Yes,
the
sir.
question is, how do you fund it?
Okay, second half of this is mental health. I formed a youth mental health commission immediately, and the superintendent served on it, and we have now in place for all of our schools, whether they know it or not. I keep working on this, trying to get our schools to know it. We have 2 programs, a wraparound orange program available for every single school and every single student. And we have a mobile crisis unit for any student that you think might be suicidal or dangerous. This would have prevented the death of Robbie German in Windermere. We have that program in place, available for every teacher, every parent, every law enforcement officer in Orange County. And too many of our teachers don't know it. So we've got to do a better job. And I am determined to make that happen, because that's why I had school board staff serving with us on that. How do you pay for it? This is a statewide problem. If the legislature is not going to step up and prevent the death of our children, then they need to at least give us the tools. If you put this on the ballot in every county in the state of Florida, you put this on the ballot, $500,000 to harden our schools, that passes overwhelmingly. But it ought to be done uniformly across the state, not one county at a time, because every time we step up to the plate and we do something in Orange County and pay ahead, like we did with mobile crisis units, we lose money when the state decides it's a good idea. So what I'm telling you is we got to do it right, we got to do it smart, and our citizens will support it, and safety is always first.
All right, thank you. Okay, Matthew Fitzgerald.
Fitzpatrick.
That's right, Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
I apologize.
It's important.
If elected, what will you do to promote school safety?
All right, first of all, let me say that parents care more about safety than they do about student achievement. Okay? Because if your child doesn't come home, we got a big problem. Okay? So I think that Orange County is on the right track in terms of putting deputies and police officers in every school, SROs. The one thing that I think that I look at from my many years in education is, you know, we do have to have strong perimeters, and we do need single points of entry. But also, you know, why isn't there some type of security person right there at the door? Every other place where people enter a place, an institution, an airport, or Disney, wherever, you have security right there at the door, because if there's a problem, you want someone right there. But we don't do that, and I think that's something we need to look at, because if we're not going to buy doors that are bulletproof, it's not going to take long to get through the door. All right, so that's just something, but there's another aspect of safety that I like to talk about, because I believe it's safety every day, and it's our discipline policies. If we don't have consistent discipline and meaningful consequences, safety within our schools is going to get worse. And I saw this in a video at Apopka High School where there's a multi-participant fight. At first it was 2 kids, and then others jumped in. Now it used to be the school board policy that if it was a multi-participant fight, those students were expelled, because you can't have that. The police officers had to put it out with pepper spray, and it caused a lot of other problems. So we have to look at our discipline policies and what kind of training are we giving to our students if we're not giving them meaningful consequences that change behaviors.
All right.
But just as a quick follow-up to that, I mean, do you see this as a funding issue primarily?
You say the discipline policies or the security guards at the doors?
The security guards at the doors.
Well, the funny thing is, the state released this money for safety, but we were already doing those things, so we don't get the extra money. Okay? Now, that's a real sad position to be. We were doing the right thing, now we don't get extra money for those positions. I believe that, you know, because an SRO is very expensive, but a security guard with a level of D license, all right, can also carry a weapon, and they're trained, and we have that position in our county. Okay, that's what we hired at Orange Technical College. Now he doesn't carry a weapon at this point, but I would rather have a security guard that has a D license on campus than give a gun to a teacher or some other school employee, because then you're dealing with a lot of different issues there in terms of when do you pull the gun when kids are fighting, or you pull the gun and tell them to stop. I mean, it's just not a situation you want to get involved in. Also, if you give someone a gun, they can't break up a fight, because if they try to break up a fight, they may lose their gun.
All right, thank you for that. So, how are we doing on time, Wendy?
We used up all of our follow-up question times, because we had about 14 minutes for follow-ups, but everyone still has a minute and a half for their questions. If you want to cut it to a minute, and we've only had one person use the 30 seconds, so everyone's got a double 30 seconds for extensions or rebuttals. Okay, so we're going to move along fairly promptly. If we want to just pass the mic all the way down to the end, we'll start with Charlene. And I want to ask about the role of education technology software like iReady, and what is the role of that software in teaching, and do you think there's a return on investment for the $5 million spent annually?
Is my son in the room? Because he would like to speak on this, and now he's going to run out. I am not a fan of iReady. I am not. We spend a ton of money on this computerized program that my son tells me everyone in the classroom does this until they get to the end, and then they answer the question until they get it right. Oh my goodness, what a complete waste of funds. I am sorry. This is not where we need to go. If we expect a computer to teach our children, we have lost our minds. We have teachers, and they have been trained to teach our children. Why do we want to turn everything over to a little computer that my son says everyone in the class just pushes a button until they get to the end? That is a waste, and we spend way too much money on it. And that is how a mother feels about that. I know that we have invested a lot of money as a school board. I hate for us to lose all that. Maybe we could look at implementing it the way it's supposed to be implemented. That might help, but really, it's not being implemented properly, and I think it is a waste.
Thank you, Charlene. All right,
How do I really feel, right?
I'm going to pass the microphone down, and Patricia Fox, let me ask the same question. What's the role of education technology software like iReady in teaching? And do you think there's a return on investment for the $5 million spent annually?
No, I don't believe right now there's a return on investment when it comes to iReady. Because iReady is not a teacher who is able to help you move ahead. Unfortunately, a lot of the teachers are not able to use it the way it's supposed to be used because of all of the paperwork that they have to be filling out. It's not serving as differentiated learning. If you can do that in order to help a student gain better enhancement, better enrichment for the subject matter, that might work. But to sit there and just use the iReady for almost like a video game in a classroom, it is a waste of valuable teaching and learning time for the student. And most of all, where does the information go that is acquired when you sign in, when your child signs into iReady? Who is capturing this information? What are we doing with this information? Who has it? Where does it go? And maybe
if somebody is capturing this information, I think the parents need to know where this information is going and who has it.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, Karen Castor-Dentel, same question.
For those of you who don't know what iReady is, it is a math and reading software where every kid in the class, I'll speak of my class, had to complete 45 minutes of reading instruction and 45 minutes of math instruction each week. And if they didn't, then the teachers get punished. So some teachers assign it as homework. Some kids don't have a computer. I refused to assign it for homework. It is a way, the purpose of this software, however, is, I guess, well-intentioned. If you really don't know what's going on, it's to make sure that our kids are prepared for the end of the year standardized tests. So they're being taught these standards, but my kids will tell you it is so boring, and it's teaching by cartoons. I am not a fan of iReady, and I went in trying to be open-minded. Maybe this is a way to help kids who are behind in math. This can give them some third grade as support when we're in fourth grade. But it really doesn't. It's just mind-numbing. And there are other ways to use those precious dollars. We've talked about so many things up here that are a matter of expenses, and do we have the funding? And if we want to be innovative, if we want to use technology, which of course we do, we need to let the teachers explain or be involved in how we're bringing about that innovation and creativity. There's so much we could be doing.
I think we're out of time.
We're out of
Thank
time.
you, Karen. Nancy Robbinson. So, role of education technology software like iReady in teaching, and do you think there's a return on investment?
Well, there's more to technology in our classrooms than just iReady. I agree with a lot of the comments that have been made about iReady, and I hear about it all the time from my fellow friends and parents and teachers. The school district, the school board, has made an investment in devices for our students. We have all of our high schools, our students are one-to-one device. Our middle schools all were one-to-one this last year, or maybe it's this college. They already did this last year. And it's really, I mean, we're leaps and bounds ahead of every other district in the state on that measure. The thing that I always state, and I make sure I tell this to the superintendent and anybody up there that will listen to me, the chief of staff, the chief academic officer, is there's nothing that replaces a high quality teacher. And they agree with me, nothing replaces a high quality teacher. The technology is not meant to be the only thing the child has and gets taught. Right? They're there, it's just a tool. And if a teacher's not using it appropriately, or if a teacher's relying on it too much, then they need to come talk to me. They need to come tell me so that I can tell Dr. Jenkins. But the reality is, as I said earlier, this is a complex problem. We are a school board that makes policies. We have two employees, the superintendent and the general counsel. She is in charge of operations. She's in charge of choosing what technology she wants for her classroom and the curriculum and all those things. I cannot single-handedly walk into her and tell her, do not do that. It has to be total board action. And so far, to this point, so far I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Robert Prater.
But you know who can go in and tell the superintendent that iReady's not working is you. So if you think that your child, it doesn't mean she's going to listen, but you can. And think about it. When you told her that you wanted recess back, do we have recess back? Yeah. So your voice is strong, okay? Now, I am an iReady coordinator, so I know where the data goes. I can tell you whether we have iReady or we have another program. I remember when I first started, we had Success Maker. I thought Success Maker was a far better program. And I even had some students saying yes. $5 million, I want you to know that this invoice that I've seen going around, that's about what you're going to pay. It comes out to about $25 a student. So when you look at it per student, we have over 200,000 students. So just, you know, when you see these invoices, you know, you don't be sticker shock. on that. Now, the biggest problem, though, that hasn't been identified with iReady is the fact that we are now a second language district. We have 41% Hispanic, and we have 25% Haitian Creole. And that program does not address any of those students' needs. So 60-something% of our students are not being addressed so that they are working at a proficient level. We have a 93.8% graduation rate, and yet only 55% of our students are on grade level for reading and 53% on grade level for math. That's unacceptable. So we need to find better programs to get our students prepared.
Thank you, Rob. All right, Teresa Jenkins.
All right, excellent conversation so far. The thing I know about iReady, first of all, I don't believe it was designed for level 1 and level 2. And if you're talking, now that you brought up the issue of children whose first language is not English, that translates into even a more profound lack of ability to assess the advancement and development of our kids. So I think we need to take a look at that. But I think the most important thing that I'm taking away from this, because I will be the first to admit that there are a lot of people up here that know a lot more about what's going on in the classroom than I do. Here's what I've done as Orange County Mayor. When I came in, I didn't know how to run a jail, and I didn't know how to run a utility plant, and I didn't know how to do public works. I didn't know how to do any of that, but I did know how to listen. I did know how to go out in the field and spend a day out in the field with different teams. Not because I could learn their job, but because I could understand the obstacles. And it's really important that we have school board members that make sure that their ear is to the ground and that they hear from the citizens, the parents, and the teachers what's working and what's not, because nobody knows that like the parents and the teachers. The teachers know technically what's working, and the parents know how their kids feel when they come home. And those things matter. And if the school board's not listening to that, then it's never going to work, because they are your voice. They are the voice of the citizens that elect them, and that includes teachers and parents. And secondly, the school board then has to come and take action. And that does not mean just having a conversation one-on-one in an office. What do you think about this? Taking action is, it may be that you form a committee of a group of teachers to say, what's the best solution to this? Come back to us and let the board decide what the policy is, and that is the direction that needs to happen. And that's the way this is supposed to work. You need a strong school board.
Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, Fitzpatrick.
All right, thank you. Now, I hear, and I put this question out on Facebook, you know, teachers, parents, what do you think of iReady? I got a lot of very interesting responses, but I think just hearing from a teacher's experience, hearing from a parent's experience, those things are very valuable. Now, I don't like one size fits all, because then if it doesn't work, it means we all fail, okay? Now, my wife, she was trained as a registered nurse and was in the Air Force for a few years, but then she did medical transcription, then she was kind of taking care of her kids, but she found her way into education for the last 2 years. And something she did, she got a few gift cards from her students at Christmas break. And she took those gift cards and she bought these books for her students at Target. There were all these little biographies. She must have bought 30 of them. We had to throw in a little extra money, but what happened in her classroom was amazing. Kids were reading books, and she said, you know, there's not going to be any report or anything. If you want to share something in your ed grade, kids that normally didn't talk suddenly wanted to share something they read. Imagine a book becoming illegal in a school. The teachers can't use books anymore. They gotta use a computer. Really? She saw something improve in her students. They wanted to read. They were interested in it. There's biographies. We should be doing that across the board.
All right, thank you, Matthew. I think we might be out of time, but here's what I'd like to do. I want to give you all 30 seconds to just kind of give us your closing pitch to the voters, and we are going to start with Karen Castor-Dentel. If you pass the mic down, we're going to kind of go out and then back to the middle.
30 seconds.
Yep, 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, I hope you heard today that I have experience as a parent and as a teacher and as a legislator working on these issues in Tallahassee. And I am eager to get to work on these problems with the board and I want to listen to parents, and I want to listen to the teachers, and I want to engage the community to help us address these problems, because obviously it's not simply a board or a district issue to educate our children. So my name is Karen Castor-Dentel, and I hope you vote August 28th or before, or get your vote by mail ballot.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
That's right. And Nancy, sorry, Patricia. Yeah.
I guess the best thing that I can tell you is my experience, as a teacher, as a parent, as a grandparent, as a mentor. Most of all, my biggest contribution to this board will be the fact that I want to be engaged with the citizens that I will represent. I will be at your schools, at your PTAs. I will hold office in various schools so that I can be close to the constituency, and you can tell me what is happening, and I can see firsthand. I ran out of time, so please vote for me August 28th.
Charlene.
Hi. You know, once again, as I said when I started, I am a parent first. I am a community member second. I am here to represent the children first. That is what I do. I am passionate about kids getting more out of school than they're getting now. I am all about extracurricular activities and clubs and things that make kids feel passionate about learning. And I, as a parent, feel that that is one of the most important things that you need. Someone to have your back and have your kids' back. And that's who I am. Thank you.
All right. You can pass it all the way down to the end, so Nancy. That's all right.
Me?
Yes.
Ready? All right, well, thank you. First of all, thank you for coming out tonight. It's nice to see people that are concerned about their children's education. Now, for me, after listening to these other candidates, I'm still trying to decide who my running mate's going to be. But I hope that you've gotten just a bit of the passion that drives me to care about kids and care about schools. You can go to fitzforschools.com and read more. But I thank you for coming out tonight. I hope to get your vote.
Thank you. I also want to thank you for being here. And I'm not going to be able to tell you what I want to tell you quick enough. So please go to my website, teresajacobs.com, or pick up a sheet out there that gives a little bit of a background of some of the things that I've championed, not because it was my job, not because I got paid for it, but because it was my passion. Children have always been my passion. Mother of 4 children, and public education is the most important thing that we can do to make our community better and grow and healthy, strong kids. Lastly, I think my strengths are I listen, I learn, and then I lead. And you have to be doing all of those. You have to be listening. And if you can't learn, you can't lead. But you also have the strength to take a position and to lead. And we need some leadership right now.
You one of those FedEx commercials, huh? My name is Robert Prater, and I am running for Orange County School Board Chair. I didn't get to say that at the beginning, so I'm saying it now. Please vote for me on August 28th. Early voting starts August 17th. As you know, this chair sets the agenda and works with the superintendent in a dual role. I am the only candidate that has had his own business, gone to a vocational school, has a degree in education, that would be able to have those day-to-day conversations with the superintendent on how to make Orange County a better running operation.
Thank you, Robert. All right, so Nancy, you get the last word.
Well, as I said earlier, I know many of you in the room because I've been representing you for the last 10 years. We've been working together on things like principal changes and school name changes and school recess. I helped fight to get recess in Orange County before it was ever even mandated by the state. And I helped fight for LGBTQ students and our faculty to make sure that we had a non-discrimination policy to protect everyone that comes to our doors, all of our students. I work with you all the time. I answer your phone calls, I answer your emails, I meet with you, and I act on everything that you bring to me. I say all the time that I can only do what you tell me. Like, as a parent, I see myself parenting the schools. I'm only as effective a parent as I am if you tell me what my children are doing when they're not with me. So in other words, you've got to tell me what's happening in the schools when I'm not there.
All right.
And you guys have been great. I've loved working with you. Thank you.
Nancy.
Vote all the 28.
Okay, so I want to thank all of our candidates, and also obviously thanks to the Parents for Public Education, the Orange County Council of PTA, and the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event. Thank you, of course, to you all for attending this candidate discussion. Just a reminder too, there is a forum for candidates for school board in District 3, and that is taking place next Tuesday, the 24th at Walker Middle School, so check that out as well. Thank you.